So we're going to explain to you on the board here, be able to see. This is clock. Okay, so we have here 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we're going to use, let's say, we're going to use a hypothetical day. We're going to use a day where the sunrise is 6 o'clock and sunset is also 6 o'clock. Now, these days, the sunrise is about 5 o'clock and the sunset is about 8 o'clock. But we're going to discuss now a hypothetical day to make it simple. Sunrise is 6 and it comes down 6. So then, very simple, you have 12 hours. Now, according to halacha, the hours go according to sunrise to sunset. So, in this hypothetical day, which is going to match what we call hours. So we say, how many hours are there in a day? There's 12 hours in a day. Okay, the 12 hours are usually, every hour has 60 minutes. Yeah, but that's in our language of hours. But in the language of halacha, halachic hours go according to from sunrise to sunset. So first going to explain it over here to make it simple. So let's say sunrise is 6 o'clock and sunsets at 6 o'clock. So now it's very simple. So the halachic hours match with our hours, and it's easy to explain what's going on a bit. So that's what we're doing first. So we have like this. We have the sun sets 6 o'clock, and let's say it gets dark, let's say about 6:30. Let's say about 6:30. So right over here, it's time to daven Ma'ariv. Start on Ma'ariv. And here is sunset. So Mincha stops, so Mincha is until here. Here's where Mincha stops. However, according to Rabbi Yehuda says that the night starts an hour and a quarter before before the sun sets. So an hour and a quarter before the sun sets is about here, 12:45. So here, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you're already davening Ma'ariv. 12:45 is right here. You're already davening Ma'ariv. You can't daven anymore. According to the majority opinion, the Chachamim, you could daven. You can only daven Ma'ariv after it gets dark. So Mincha is till here, till sunset. And if you did a daven Mincha at sunset, you can still daven between here and here. You can still daven Mincha. Ma'ariv is dark. So far, simple. But here's something interesting. And there is that according to halacha, there's no consensus. Halacha does not say, halacha is like the Chachamim. Halacha is like this, and that's it. We discount Rabbi's opinion. And we have to, you can only go right after it starts, and live till it. No, halacha does not give any opinion on this. Halacha says they're both opinions, and you can choose which opinion you want. However, if you're choosing one opinion, you have to stick to it. You cannot take, for sure not on the same day. So, for sure not on the same day, you cannot choose both opinions together. And even on 2 separate days, you can. I'm going to explain what I'm saying. In other words, like this. So, let's say a person's going to say, okay, I can take Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. It's accepted. It's an opinion. It's an accepted opinion. Okay. All right. So I'm going to daven after. I'll daven Ma'ariv here. You're allowed to, no problem. And when you daven Mincha? Oh, Mincha. Oh, the Chacham say you daven Mincha all day till here. So you'll daven Mincha here. Let's say you're allowed, right? Daven Mincha at 5 o'clock, right? Mincha. Yeah, you're not. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm following. I'm just tired.
Yeah. Okay. So you're allowed to daven Mincha. Yeah. So you daven Mincha at 5 o'clock. You daven Mincha till sunset. but we also accept, I mean, this opinion is an accepted opinion, right? So, okay, so I'm good, I might have afterwards. Is that okay? No. You can't jump on both sides. Like, you're contradicting yourself, right? If you get what I'm saying, right? You take this opinion, what do you mean? If you take the opinion, it doesn't matter. So it's night, happy mincha. That's for sure you can't do. There are some opinions that say you could, but it's like it's all the way on the side. It's now even on two separate days, also you cannot pick and choose one day one opinion and the other day the other opinion. You cannot one day decide, okay, I can't contradict myself, so I'm going to daven mincha before 4:45. You're daven night afterwards today, and tomorrow I'll do different. Tomorrow I'll go by the Chachamim opinion that say that night is over here, the regular opinion. Then I'll daven mincha, like everyone does. You can daven mincha the whole day until sunset, and then I'll daven night after it gets dark. So today I choose one opinion, tomorrow I choose the other opinion. This is not so bad, but this is also not accepted. This is also should not be done. Because still, one day this one, the other opinion, no, which opinion do you go by? However, this is accepted. You could choose an opinion on one day and be consistent with it if it's Mekabel Shabbos. If you're being Mekabel Shabbos early, there's a significance, there's a mitzvah in accepting Shabbos early, then that is accepted that today I'm choosing this opinion, even though all the other days I go like the Chacham opinion, which is I daven mincha all day, then when it gets started on the night. But I want to be Mekabel Shabbos early, and the significance in accepting Shabbos early. So you could, because there's a good reason for it, you could. So let's say today, Erev Shabbos, you could take Rabbi Yehuda's opinion and say, okay, I'm going to Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. And then you will accept Shabbos early. You will daven Ma'ariv after this time, which is this time it's called Plaga Mincha. You will daven Ma'ariv, but you make sure to be consistent on this day with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda and make sure to daven Mincha before Plaga Mincha. That clear so far? Yeah.
Are there any other situations other than being Paul Shabbos that you could like switch between the opinions or not really?
That you could choose an opinion on one day. I don't know of any other examples. We'll talk about that there's a well, yeah, actually, it could be if you want to daven, if you go in a show where they're davening Ma'ariv early and when men, they want to daven with a minion, so that could be a reason. That could be a reason, and we encourage more the davening on time after dark than that. The davening to minion, davening to keeping the time of the Chachamim. That's preferred. But that could be an accepted reason if a man wants to do that, because you won't have it rolling down the minion later. So then you can do that.
Like if you're traveling and you're in a small town where there's one minion.
Right, and that minion is davening early before sunset. So that could be a reason, yeah. Like I said before, there are some lenient opinions that go even more lenient, and they say even on the same day you could sort of contradict yourself. But that's like this. In other words, there is justifications to the some shows that do that they will daven mincha after this time and daven Ma'ariv before this time. And even though it's not really the proper thing, but it's sort of justified because if they don't do it, the people came to show, they're going to go home and they might forget the daven Ma'ariv. So I guess you have them and they daven Ma'ariv, and daven Ma'ariv is Shema and Amidah, and they might not say Shema at all. So even though it's not ideal situation, there's sort of a justification for those shows that do it, but it's not really l'chatchila. Now, this that was saying that you could choose Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, Rabbi Yehuda's an accepted opinion. So if you decided a certain day for a good reason, okay, I'm going for Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, or if you're consistent, you only go by you consistently take Rabbi Yehuda's opinion and davening might have early, but most opinions hold that this that is accepted, that Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is an accepted opinion, is only in regards to the Amidah, the Shemoneh Esrei, not in regards to Shema. You get it? So whatever we said, that Rabbi Yehuda is an accepted opinion, person could accept Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, as we described, as we read the details, but most opinions hold that the halacha says, no, it's the halacha entrepreneur says clearly that his opinion is an accepted opinion. It's clear. No one argues. It's an accepted opinion. One could follow opinion, as we explained. Follow the guidelines. However, most opinions hold that this that is said, that Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is an accepted opinion, is only in regards to the Amidah, not in regards to Shema, because Shema is min ha-Torah, right? Amidah is rabbinic, Shema is min ha-Torah. We're exempt from saying Shema, but saying Shema is min ha-Torah. So most beholds, it doesn't apply to Shema. So those shows that they actually daven early, they make sure to say Shema again later. There are some that say it applies to Shema, but that's already like all the way on the side. So that's good for those people who daven early and they in case they forget to daven later. So there's an advantage that they're davening with the minyan, they come to shul, and if there's no minyan, they come home, they won't daven at all, they won't say Shema. So some say that, but most opinions say that it's only accepted in regards to the Amidah to accept Rabbi's opinion, but not in regards to Shema. So this is a hypothetical day. So I showed you a hypothetical day, which is very rare. But so you understand that, let's say today that's sunrise is 5 and sunset is 8. So you got to take 15 hours divided to 12 parts. And then you got to come with, then you take those 12 hours, and those 12 hours are going to be longer hours, maybe 70 minutes, whatever. And then you take those hours, let's say that the hour is 70 minutes, right? Now we say, when is this? So I didn't write it down, I hope I said it a few times. Called Plag HaMincha. This is a classical halacha term that you want to learn. Plag HaMincha. Okay? Know this term? People hear you say it, they'll be very impressed. Plag HaMincha. Plag HaMincha is an hour and a quarter before sunset. So now, practically you can look at a calendar these days. Open the calendar, you see right away, I'll tell you what's the time. But do you understand what it is? What is it? It's an hour and a quarter. Hour means a lot hour. The hour, let's say 70 minutes. So it's 70 minutes plus a quarter from 70 minutes. So the quarter won't be 50 minutes, it'll be, let's say, 17, 18 minutes. So Plag HaMincha these days usually is approximately an hour and a half before sunset. Instead of an hour and a quarter, it's an hour and a half. You look at the calendar, it tells you exactly what it is, but you understand what it is. So these days, I didn't look up exactly these days, but Lichtenstein is about 8 o'clock, 8:05. So Shki is about 8:25. So let's say Plag HaMincha is about 7 o'clock, let's say, approximately. I won't know exactly. I have my calendar downstairs. I could look it up later, but it's about 7. So basically, if someone wants to accept Shabbos earlier today, you have to make sure daven mincha before Plag HaMincha, and then you accept Shabbos, and then Ma'ariv. You can daven Ma'ariv later also. You daven Ma'ariv either after Plag HaMincha. Preferable to daven Ma'ariv when it's dark. So a lot of people who accept Shabbos early here in Crown Heights, I shouldn't say a lot. I was going to say, a lot of people accept. Let me clarify. A lot of people accept Shabbos. There are shuls. That's the place that do that here. They accept Shabbos early. But even though they accept Shabbos earlier, and they daven mincha before Plag HaMincha, because they comes like a mincha, they accept in Shabbos. So they accept Shabbos, you must have mincha earlier. But in terms of Ma'ariv, they could daven Ma'ariv later. There are, I think, for me, what some shuls is they daven Ma'ariv right away also, because they have a minion, so they daven. So they will daven mincha before Plug mincha, let's say before 7 o'clock. And the women can light candles after Plug mincha, which is about 7 o'clock. And being done mincha before Plug mincha, so after Plug mincha, they could do Kabbalah Shabbos, the full Kabbalah Shabbos, Shema, and then Midah, and then later when it starts, they say Shema again. A better way is to daven later. That's what I always do. When I would leave the Kabbalah Shabbos early, I wouldn't daven Shemona Esrei early. I would daven after the meal. So you could do L'chun Ranana all the way till Baruch Hu, and then you do the meal. We'll soon go into detail exactly how the meal works. There are some details you have to know about it. But then after the meal, daven later. Yeah.
How do you calculate the when Plug mincha is again?
And
You
you
said
calculate.
divide, yeah.
You take the day from sunrise till sunset, divide it into 12 parts. You get 12 hours.
You actually just go on Google, you type in on.
Clear?
Yeah.
Now, when someone does this and they accept Shabbos early, so what you need to know is that when you start the meal has to be before a certain time. You cannot, like, okay, accept Shabbos early, so comes Plug mincha 7 o'clock. Let's say Plug mincha 7 o'clock. Okay, these days, let's say, okay, like Shabbos, then accept Shabbos. Make sure to daven first, okay? But now you could daven Kabbalah Shabbos if you want. You don't have to. You already accepted Shabbos. You already accepted Shabbos. You can start the meal. You go make Kiddush and have a meal. But you have to make sure to start the meal before a certain time. So let's say sunset is about 8:30. It's a little early. It's about 8:30. You want to make sure you wash, and this applies particularly to the men, because the men have an obligation to say Shema. So they have to make sure to start the meal before 8 o'clock. Once it's already within a half an hour to when it starts, when it's the time to say Shema, they're not allowed to start the meal. That's a general halach throughout the year. They cannot wash for a meal at half an hour before dark. I think they did not say Mayim, they didn't say Shmayit. Now, there's more details throughout the year. If they have a set time for davening, that they daven a certain time, so it's established that they won't forget. So there's a leniency for that. But we're discussing now that they don't have a set time because they're davening early and they're just going to say Shema again later. So they don't have that set time that they're going to daven later. So they have to make sure that washing, so Kiddush needed early, make sure to Kiddush and wash before a half an hour before sunset. If sunset, let's say, is 8:30, I think that these days, I think today it's going to be about 8:25, something like that. Okay, let's say 8:25. So to make sure to wash before 7:55. That means they have to make Kiddush start Shalom Aleichem at 7:45. They have to calculate whatever time it takes. So Shalom Aleichem, Kiddush, and then they should wash before 7:55. Yeah.
But if they already done a mark, then they can, and they've already said Shema, then they can still watch after that, right? Like, let's say the men, daven tomorrow at shul, and then.
Right, so they said they did mincha before Plagim mincha,
Yeah,
and then they daven Ma'ariv and show right away,
right,
like according to Rabbi's opinion.
right.
But most opinions hold that even though you're allowed to rely on his opinion that it's night and for daven, but most opinions say that that's only for davening, not for Shema. So even though they daven and they said Shema and everything, but according to most opinions, they did not actually do this for saying Shema yet until it started. So therefore, yes, you
Yeah,
get it. So that's why they have to make sure they wash before half an hour before it gets dark. Once it's within a half an hour to dark, Chum say they're not allowed to wash for a meal. They might forget, they don't do the mitzvah of saying Shema, and they haven't really done the mitzvah of Shema according to the vast majority of things.
Then what do they do in terms of the meal? Can't wash.
No, they can wash before 7:55 in this event. The one thing wash before the prohibition was when it comes to a certain time. When you wash earlier, they didn't, of course, they have to be careful and make sure they say Shema. But the prohibition is once it comes within a half an hour to dark, they're not allowed to wash. Questions? Now, there are those that have a custom. I mean, I'm saying there are those, I don't know how many there are, but I'm sure there are some people, and it's a good idea. Anyways, if someone doesn't have the custom, is that whenever you say, this applies maybe to the men, because we're talking about the mitzvah of saying Shema. When we say Shema, when we go to sleep, Kish Mishal Mitzvah, we say the three parshas of Shema. In other customs, always say the first parsha, Shema, Tzil Visharecha. They don't say all three. The others we say all three. Now, if let's say a person, the situation, except Shabbos early, and he's supposed to say Shema again after the meal because he didn't do the mitzvah yet. Okay, when he goes to bed, he says Kish Mishal Mitzvah. He's going to say Shema. And according to our custom, we say all three parshas. Some only say the first. So what's the issue? What's the issue? What are we concerned about? Do you do the mitzvah automatically? The mitzvah, a mitzvah that's mandatory by the Torah needs kavanah, needs intention. If there was no intention doing the mitzvah. So if someone says Shema, if a man, no, man, woman, whatever, they get the mitzvah anyways. Say the Shema before you go to bed, and you say all three parties, and you have kavanah, Shema, you know what you're saying. But you're not thinking that you're doing, you don't have the kavanah that you're doing now the mitzvah of saying Shema, you haven't done the mitzvah. So a person gets into the habit when they say Shema before they go to sleep, they have kavanah that I want to do the mitzvah of saying Shema. Do the mitzvah. So if someone is in that habit all the time, and whenever he says Shema before he goes to bed, he has kavanah not to say Shema before he goes to bed, not for that, not just for that, but to do the mitzvah of saying Shema, then it covers it. Then he doesn't have to say Shema again right after the meal, because whenever he goes to sleep and he says Shema before he goes to bed, he's already programmed, he's already in the habit that he has kavanah, he has intention to perform the mitzvah of saying Shema. Okay, pretty much covered. Cover. Now, there are some communities that they emphasize this idea of accepting Shabbos early. Chabad, it's not an emphasis. Never been emphasis in Chabad to taking Shabbos earlier. So it's not so common over there like in other communities. But it's not against the thing of Chabad that doctors don't do it. We just, by default, we don't end up doing it because by us the emphasis is not on the gashmius of Shabbos, it's a mitzvah or a sivan. That's not our emphasis. And the emphasis was always when Chassidus and the Sikha, I mean, when it wasn't 770 always growing up before Shabbos, the Sikha came out, we could have edited, and to the Chamed, we were in a Sikha. They bring the times of the Rebbe Hasham would say long Mamanim over 2 hours. Say mine, saying a mind over 2 hours. Say mine at Erev Shabbos, they daven late. So for us, the emphasis was, bringing Shabbos with learning, learning the Maimon, learning the Sikha. That was the emphasis. So that's why it was never an emphasis by us in accepting Shabbos early, doing this. But it's not against Chabad if sivan wants to do it, and so many people find it very practical. They have little children and they're going to fall asleep and they won't be by the sivan. And children have an obligation, to educate them, starting from a certain age. Not very young children, but about 5, 6, there's an obligation to educate them to do mitzvahs, including hearing kiddush and having the sukkah. And if it means they're not going to, they're going to go to sleep and they won't hear kiddush and have a sukkah, then of course there is significance in taking Shabbos early, so the little children could be by the sukkah also. Any questions? Yep. We have a little more time, so if anyone has questions, maybe about candlelighting. I don't think we discussed so much about candlelighting, right? Did we discuss any of the classes? So there's a basic halacha about candlelighting, and that is that automatically when you light candles, you accept Shabbos, you're aware of it, right? Now, it's very common, I should say it's very common, but it happens sometimes that it's time to light candles and you didn't daven mincha yet. Are you aware that once you light Shabbos candles, you cannot daven mincha anymore because you accept the Shabbos, you can't daven mincha. So what do you do if it's late and it's time to light Shabbos candles and you want to daven mincha? So what do you do? Well, anyone knows what you do? You have to keep in mind that you're going to daven mincha. What does it mean? Okay, I'm keeping in mind that after I light Shabbos candles, I still plan to daven mincha. That's what the kavanah is.
I guess so. I'm not sure. I've never done it.
I mean, once you accept Shabbos, you can't daven mincha anymore.
So I feel like say that more twice.
No, so that's if you missed mincha, and it's time to daven, it's already night, it's dark, so you daven two shvanesses. You're discussing you didn't daven mincha, you're still able, it's not night yet, you still have time to daven mincha. It's just that it's time to light Shabbos candles, and you didn't daven mincha yet. So what do? Could you should daven mincha now? Could you daven mincha right after you light candles? After you light candles, it's still day. Technically, it's still light outside, so could you still daven mincha after you light candles? That's the question.
Don't you have the 40?
Well, once you light candles, it's already night. It's already Shabbos. Right? So anyone remembers? Anyone knows what you do? So you do call a t'nai, a stipulation. You stipulate, you make a condition that even though I'm lighting Shabbos candles, and usually you light Shabbos candles automatically, you accept Shabbos, you're not accepting Shabbos yet. So you're stipulating, I'm not accepting Shabbos yet. Because usually, automatically, when you light Shabbos candles, you accept Shabbos. That's the accepted custom, that you automatically accept Shabbos. But if you stipulate that all I'm lighting Shabbos candles, I'm not accepting Shabbos. Now it's not Shabbos yet. So if it's not Shabbos yet, you daven mincha. However, you're supposed to accept Shabbos right after you light Shabbos candles. A person you cannot light Shabbos candles without accepting Shabbos. So how does that work? You can't. Okay, I want to do mitzvah lighting Shabbos candles, but I'm not accepting Shabbos yet. When do you want to accept Shabbos? An hour later. Can a person do that? No, because otherwise it's not noticeable that it was lit for the honor of Shabbos. We want that when you light candles, it should be noticed you're lighting it for Shabbos. So we want that with the lighting of candles, you should be accepting Shabbos. So what do you mean you're stipulating that you're not accepting Shabbos? So I'm saying we give you a certain period of time. You have to accept it within a certain period of time, so there should be a connection between the lighting of the candles and the accepting of Shabbos. You know, so he's stipulating they didn't accept it right away. Well, you have to accept it within a certain amount of time. And the amount of time is 10 minutes. It's really about 12, but we're saying 10 to keep it safe. So you have to accept Shabbos within 10 minutes. So you light Shabbos candles. Before you light, you have an intention that I'm not accepting Shabbos yet. So right after you light Shabbos candles, you can daven mincha. And as long as you accept Shabbos within 10 minutes, but not longer. If you did not do that and you lit Shabbos candles and you didn't realize you accepted Shabbos, then I did a daven mincha, then you can't daven mincha anymore. So late to mincha. Then we do what we were mentioning before. Then when it comes to Ma'ariv, you daven Ma'ariv, and then you daven a second tefillah for mincha. Okay. Not clear? Obvious, everyone? Oh, yeah. Rings.
Oh, it rung a few minutes ago.
It did?
Mm-hmm. It usually rings 5 minutes before the class ends. I heard it ring, but I don't.
It means it's off.